You were in the middle of the Caribbean today. Back, not sure for how long. I don't know who we got with us. Thank you for TGI Sports Talk Sunday. Stream of consciousness. We may jump on and off here a few times. I'm trying to find a decent internet connection. So if you pop in, let me know how this is going. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Big day here on the ship. Big day here everywhere. So hopefully you guys are all ready for your Super Bowl parties. And I'm trying to see if I could play some music when I came in here, couldn't I? Interesting. Hopefully you guys are having some fun. It's a little bit windy here today, but 75 degrees. It's going to be a nice day. Put up my banner here. There's Sunday Stream of Consciousness show. Maybe this will be a little test that I might come back later. I'm not seeing where I'm going live. Why does So, should see my live where I'm going to live here, but I'm not seeing it. So, yeah, I am. Excellent. Okay, good. All right, so we're all good. We're going to. We're popping in and out today. If the feed's really bad, let me know, and we'll go from there. Want to keep track of your comments and Super Bowl Sunday. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about anything in the NFL you want to talk about. I haven't had a chance to look at the other sports going on here the last couple of days, but I'm certainly willing to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about certainly the Super Bowl, Kansas City facing off against the Eagles. The line is Eagles 1.5 and 51. That's not the official line I have to wager today yet, but I am leaning towards Kansas City and over myself. So we'll see how that goes. We haven't got anybody with us yet, so we're I want to talk about the game. Listen, I think this is an interesting game, obviously. Matchup of two coaches. One, Nick Sirianni, coached for Andy Reid previously. He was let go in 2014. Whether he's fired or not, I guess is a matter of semantics. He was his quality control coach in Philadelphia, and he did not go to Kansas City with the rest of the staff. So you get that matchup. You get the Andy Reid fired by the Eagles after taking, well, not directly afterwards, but after taking them to a Super Bowl, losing to the Patriots in 2005, I want to say. You've got the brothers, the Kelsey brothers matching up, which I don't think is that big a deal. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice story, right? But they're playing against each other. To me, the Harbaugh coaching matchup a few years back with Baltimore and San Francisco was a much more interesting brother connection. So whole deal with the two black quarterbacks playing against each other for the first time, I suppose it's historic for sure. But I think it's time we get away from that part of the conversation, to be honest with you. I mean, the league does have a pretty fair amount of black quarterbacks, and we've had many black quarterbacks in the game now. You know, it's been kind of tiresome kind of seeing stories such as Patrick Mahomes trying to prove the first black quarterback to win 2 Super Bowls. I think we can just call him a quarterback at this point. Just one man's opinion, but who knows? What else is going on? So you got those intriguing matchups. You got Kansas City with some injuries on offense. We'll see whether. I don't think Hardman's going to go today, but we'll see. I mean, the important thing for them is Kelsey. Kelsey seems to be important. Not to be important, but healthy. He's obviously important. As I said, when Tyreek Hill left this team and was traded away for a bundle to Miami, that Kansas City would come out the winner here because it's actually Kelsey that makes this offense go. And that's been proven through these playoffs. You saw him play in the first round, and it was just set a record for catches by a tight end, broke his own record. And then playing, they didn't even know if he played right up until game time of the championship game against the Bengals, and he played, and he was more than effective, and certainly was a big part of that victory for them. So I really didn't. The Eagles defense, 70 sacks in the regular season. They do lead the playoffs with 8 sacks, but this offensive line of the Chiefs is really pretty good. Mahomes is good with escapability. You know, he's not a great running quarterback, say like Jalen Hurts, but he does have great escapability and he improvises very well. And I think it's possible that he could even have more rushing yards than Jalen Hurts today. We'll see. But he's got a decent offensive line. He can get out of trouble when he needs to. I think Andy Reid, with 2 weeks of scheme, is going to find a way to protect Mahomes better today. That ankle has had 2 more weeks to heal, and I just think that those factors, as far as offensively for the Chiefs, give them some advantages. Now, the Eagles' offense is really good, but I think it's a running game that really makes it go. Steve Spagnuolo, to me, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, is the wild card here. Steve Spagnuolo has been around the block. He's a really good defensive coordinator. This Kansas City defense is a little bit better than people give him credit for, I think. They've been similar to some of the New England defenses. They bend but don't break. And this is a guy who's come up with some pretty good game plans to beat pretty good teams in big games. If you remember 2007, he beat the 18-0 Patriots with a tremendous defensive scheme to stop that prolific offense, record-setting offense that year. So we're going to get a little noise over the intercom here, but again, we're live from the Carnival Magic here in the middle of the Caribbean. Somebody watching, I hope will comment on how the feed is, because I don't want to continue to just have a garbled feed. So talking about those matchups, again, I think Steve Spagnuolo is going to be a big difference maker here. 2 weeks to prepare a defensive scheme to stop Jalen Hurts and this offense. And listen, people are downplaying that injury, the shoulder injury to Jalen Hurts. I think it's a bigger factor than people think. I think it's a bigger injury factor than Mahomes' ankle, to be honest with you. He hasn't been asked to really throw the ball a whole lot, and I think that they're going to make him throw the football today. I do believe that Spagnuolo will take the run away. They got a plethora of really good running backs that we've seen throughout the playoffs and throughout the regular season. But I think they're going to take the running game away and force the Eagles to throw the football and see how that shoulder is of Jalen Hurts. And again, how accurate he can be. He wasn't forced to do a lot against the 49ers. He threw a couple of good balls. He threw a nice ball early in that game to who threw that ball to remember we threw the ball to. Remember, it was should have been a contested play. The ball came out. Everything happened so quickly, nobody had a chance to see the ball come out. Could have been a difference maker in the momentum of the game. Doubtful for me that it really played into the outcome. Anyway, I just want to see if there's any comments here. Feel free to comment and bring up some topics here today, guys, because I wanted to come on live, and I'll be on live I'm going to try to go live at 11:45 on Let's Talk Sports. Super Bowl pregame show that's going to be going on all day. I'll be on Northeast Streaming Sports. Hopefully, sometime during the game, we'll try to pop in, try to pop out. And we'll go as long as we can. We would love to get some feedback on how the feed is. And I might even pop on again here live again sometime throughout the day. Weather's not going to be the best today, so we're probably not going to spend a ton of time outside. And if the wives are doing something that I'm not interested in, I may do a little bit more commentary later on. What are the storylines today? Obviously, Patrick Mahomes' ankle. We talked about Jalen Hurts' shoulder a little bit. I think I was a little surprised that Mahomes had the maneuverability that he had against Cincinnati. I thought his ability to improvise would be compromised big time. But he did. I think he was able to do it well enough. I mean, there were times where he kind of pushed it a little too hard. You could see him come up limping. This is normally a 4 to 6 week injury that he played on the next week. Now he's had 2 more weeks to kind of get it to heal. I'm sure while he's participated in practice, he hasn't been pushed to the limit. But that would be a factor to watch early on as the Eagles pressure him, how he is able to escape the pocket and how accurate he'll be throwing the football. He throws the ball on the run as well as anybody that I've ever seen. Aaron Rodgers, as much as I don't like him, is the other guy that kind of does this. Running to your left, throwing to your right. It's nearly impossible to do. These guys are able to do it right to left. They're very good. Patrick Mahomes, I think, has done that better than a lot of others. Pacheco, the running back, could be important today. They need to run the football. He's done like a little bowling ball. And, he'll be maybe a difference maker today. We'll see what the Eagles try to do on defense. I think their goal is probably going to be put as much pressure on Mahomes as possible, force him into mistakes. And that was, again, you saw what Tampa Bay did against the Chiefs 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. The second consecutive Super Bowl the Chiefs had reached after winning against the Niners the year before. Mahomes was just harassed badly all day. So we'll see how that goes. And guys, anybody on? I see the 2 people here on the Facebook feed. Do please comment on how the feed is. The internet's been very spotty here this morning on the ship. Again, we're live from the Carnival Magic. They're going to have to pay me for these little plugs, but as well. Somebody gave me a thumbs up, so maybe the picture's okay. So I want to take your comments, get your comments on the game today. We'll dive into some of those as we try to kill some time here this morning. Who we got here? Joseph, how are you today? What do you got up here? Joseph has got his email up, so I'm not sure what you're asking us for, Joseph, but welcome to the show. I think Joseph is a new viewer. Good to have you with us. We're live. Joseph, normally I'm in my studio in East Greenbush, New York, but we're live from the Caribbean on the Carnival Magic today, doing a little bit of a remote conversation on my normal Sunday stream of consciousness show. I hope the picture's okay, Joseph. If you'd like to comment on what how your feed is, I'd love to know. Back to the game. We can talk a little bit about the Fox broadcast today, too. It's broadcast on Fox. Thankfully, we don't get Tony Romo running his yapper. By the way, interesting story about Tony Romo. I read this week that a lot of people have been very negative about Tony Romo the last couple of years. His first couple of years, I thought Romo was very good, very prescient in his comments. But these last couple of years, he just runs off at the mouth like crazy. And it turns out, during this past offseason, before the season began, there was an intervention with CBS executives and Tony Romo telling him he needed to kind of get himself focused and get back to what he did those first couple of years. It didn't work because Tony Romo, as far as I'm concerned, was worse than ever. And he's making Jim Nantz look bad, who's one of the best play-by-play guys in the history, in my mind. Looked very, very bad. But you're going to get Kevin Burkhardt today in his first year replacing Joe Buck, and Greg Olson in his first year replacing Troy Aikman. And there's certainly a question about, how long Greg Olson will be that number one pick. commentator for Fox. As you know, Tom Brady, who recently retired, has a 10-year, $375 million contract with Fox to broadcast games once he retired, which he's done, obviously. And now he's taking a gap year. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Greg Olson. I had this, and we were talking about last night at dinner. I had this feeling that Tom Brady will never broadcast a single game for Fox. The contract will never come to fruition, and Tom Brady will do something else with the rest of his working. So we'll see how that goes. But it really does factor into the game today. You're going to get Burkhardt, you're going to get Olsen, and I think they've done a pretty good job this year. I think overall, overall the body of it, I think they've been very good. Kevin Burkhardt has come up a long ways in the last few years. I mean, he started out as basically a rolling stadium reporter for the Mets in New York, obviously, for the local broadcast, and he's made his way up. Who we got here? Good morning, Sports Talk with Sean. How are you, Sean? I hope that's you, Sean. Sean, I'd love you to comment on how the feed is this morning, because we're broadcasting live from the Caribbean on the Carnival Magic. And when I do this yearly, bi-yearly, sometimes the feed is good, sometimes it's not. So feel free to put a comment up, or Sean, if there's any topics you want to talk about around the Super Bowl or any other sports, feel free to do so. I don't have as prepared a show as I normally would because I have been enjoying myself, but I do like to get out and reach out to my peeps and new peeps. Thank you, Joseph and Sean, for joining us this morning. Again, this is not our normal show, but we want to get your comments and certainly any topics you want to talk about, maybe surrounding the Super Bowl, surrounding the NBA trade deadline, surrounding Major League Baseball. We can certainly talk about anything, as it is a stream of consciousness. And normal guys are not here today, but we aren't on at our regular time, as we're normally live at 8:30, and it's now, I believe, 10 o'clock, 10:20. But we may come on again during the afternoon. We're going to spend some time in remote with Northeast Streaming Sports later on, hopefully. That might be during the game, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. And I'll be on with Let's Talk Sports Crew, hopefully at 11:45, given the enjoy the weather. It's a little windy today, but it's warm. I can tell you it's warmer than it is in upstate New York right now. About 75 today. But if the weather looks good the rest of the week, we're going to get some rain and thunderstorms, I think, today. So, but that's okay. We still got 7 days to go. So after that. So thank you, Sean, for that. And I hope the picture is okay. Again, I was hoping one of you guys might comment and let me know how the feed is coming through on your end. Sean, by the way, I'd love to know more about your show. I'm guessing you do a podcast, so I'd love to know more about your show. If you want to send me a note at TGI Sports Talk, we can certainly chat a little bit about your show at some point. And always looking to collaborate with more and more people. Again, back to the game today, 1.5, 51. Don't know if that'll be the final line I get today, but I'm on the over. I'm on Kansas City. I just feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to get this done. I think Steve Spagnuolo, as I mentioned earlier, is going to put a game plan in there to put the pressure on Jalen Hurts, make him beat this team. I think the front four, especially the Kansas City, I think is better than people think. Now the secondary suspects, so they're going to need to get pressure on Jalen Hurts to protect that secondary, I think. But the Chiefs' defense, I've said this from the beginning of the year, is a little better than people give them credit for. And Steve Spagnuolo, repeating myself here, I know because I've got people coming in and out, is great at game planning with a little bit of time. And for these big games, you remember the big game in 2007, he beat the 18-0 New England Patriots. One of the worst days of this guy's life. And And let me turn a little bit so I don't get quite so much sun. What else? So again, we can talk about the halftime show. I mean, I was listening to a lot of comments this morning on ESPN about Rihanna and the halftime show and the negative, and some of the negative feedback already as she hasn't even performed. I could care less about the halftime show. Do people really care? What are some of the matchups I want to watch today? Definitely, like as I said this morning, I've covered again. I know, Sean, because you're coming in late, and I've got people in and out. That obviously the offensive line of the Chiefs against the defensive front of the Eagles, 70 sacks this year, 2 short of the record, and I do think that that's going to be an important thing for them to protect Patrick Mahomes. So that's one matchup, and I think Steve Spagnuolo basically against Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts is my other matchup. I do think Steve Spagnuolo is going to come up with something to put some pressure on Jalen Hurts, and you're going to see that running game taken away from the Eagles. So again, the front 7 of the Chiefs taking away the running game, forcing Hurts to play the ball, and then you've got the secondary matchup with Hurts against the secondary for the Chiefs. So, and then the coaches. I think listen, I'm not a huge Sirianni fan. He's done a great job with this team. He's really got a lot of talent. I don't want to take anything away from him. But Andy Reid's been here. Andy Reid's been here. This will be his 4th trip to the Super Bowl. He's won 1. Andy Reid, I think, is better. I've always been on Andy Reid about his game management skills, especially the clock near the end of games. And I do think that that's gotten better, I think, in the last few years. And maybe Patrick Mahomes helps that, right? So, the defensive front of that Eagles team, the way the Chiefs can protect Patrick Mahomes, and then the injury. I think the injury matchups, too. Who's hurt worse? Hurts or Mahomes? Again, I think Mahomes did a great job on that ankle that a lot of people wouldn't even have played with that first week. Tactics, and they can take Hurts' shoulder maybe a little bit in rougher shape than we've been led to believe. We didn't see him really get tested against the Giants. They ran for 286 yards in that game, guys. He threw the ball effectively, but he didn't need to throw the ball. He didn't need to make, pinpoint passes and things like that. So I think that that is something to keep an eye on, is how well he can throw the ball and how accurately he can throw the ball. And again, I will qualify those statements, but I've never been a big Jalen Hurts backer until this year. And now, I've had to eat my words. He's had a great, great season. Patrick Mahomes has, though, too. Got his second MVP award the other night. And I think this is a guy who, he's got the experience. Yes, he had a tough time against that Buccaneer defensive front 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, but remember how bad that offensive line of the Chiefs was at the time. That offensive line is basically retooled since that point in time. They've got veterans like Joe Tooney from the Patriots who have experience in these games, and I think that's going to come into play as well. So, those are some of the things I'll be looking for, Sean, and I do think there'll be more that will kind of unfold as we go along. Willie Snead versus A.J. Brown. That's a good one. And Snead, he got banged up a little bit in the championship game, so I guess his health is probably going to be important. Snead against A.J. Brown, whoever he may line up with is definitely a good one to bring up. I think Snead tends to move around, and he'll take the guy in a slot a lot of times too. So, but Snead's he's probably the best defensive back on the Chiefs, and I think him being able to be on the field for this entire game is going to be very important to the Chiefs' chances. So that's a very good matchup. And then you bring up the D-line versus the O-line, which I brought up already, but certainly is worth talking about again, because that may be the most important matchup. Patrick Mahomes, if Patrick Mahomes ends up being harassed, if you remember how he was harassed the entire second half of that Super Bowl 2 years ago by the Tampa Bay defense, that can't happen again today. If it does, this will not be a pretty sight. And I do think some points will get scored today. The Chiefs are not going to win a 13-10 game. They just aren't. Their defense, as I said, is better than it's been in the past, but they're going to give up some points. So I think it's important that I see them winning this game like 35-32. And I don't even care if they lose it, actually, 35-34. I just want a high-scoring game and Chiefs covered by 1.5. In a bad spot here. So we got here Darius versus Clay. I can't read that. Oh, Dove area. Yeah. Again, another. There's a lot of matchups that are certainly going to be important here. I took a bad spot to sit down here. You're probably hearing the blunders behind me now. But hopefully that'll go off in a second. Those are great matchups on the field, right? But don't forget the matchup of the coaches here, right? I think a matchup of both Reed against the defensive side of the Eagles defense, and their defensive coordinator's name is escaping me right now. But maybe more importantly, is going to be Steve Spagnuolo against Nick Sirianni. Because, as I've said a few times, I think Spagnuolo in these big games has got a track record that very few guys can match. I would tell you that if there's one defensive coordinator I could take, and this is based off of experience of watching it happen, and it happened here in Glendale, Arizona, interestingly enough, I might take Mr. Spagnuolo against any other defensive coordinator in the history of football. You can have Buddy Ryan with the Bears and whatnot. The Giants that day were going up against maybe the best offensive team in the history of football, and they just beat Tom Brady to a pulp, and beat the Patriots to a pulp that day. So I like what Spagnuolo can bring to it. There you go, the various slay. I got you. Who's MDS? I know I should know what you got up there, buddy, and I'm losing it a little bit. But there's a lot of talent. I would say, as much as I do say I like the Chiefs today, especially with a 1.5. I would rather it be like 3.5. That'd be perfect. But it's not going to be. It's going to be 1.5. Maybe it'll jump to 2. I don't know. I would say probably, without a doubt, actually, not probably, Eagles up and down the roster have got better talent than the Chiefs. But you take Patrick Mahomes' experience, playing in a Super Bowl for a quarterback or a hand player, Eagles don't have a lot of experience in Super Bowls in this game. None of the skill position players, I believe, had any experience in a big game. Now, there's probably somebody somewhere on this offensive or defensive front that has. There you go. I don't think that's probably the most important matchup of the day, but I do think again, the Chiefs are not going to win every individual matchup because, again, as I said before, I think the talent level on the Eagles roster is significantly ahead of the talent level on the Chiefs roster. But the Chiefs find a way to make things happen. Look at the way that Mahomes basically brought them to victory against the Bengals. They were down by the end of that game. They were pulling guys out of the stands to play wide out. So I think that it's very possible that that experience of Mahomes in a close game is going to probably trump whatever Hurts can bring to the table here. So again, I think I'm looking for a very, very good game. I think it comes down to experience on Kansas City's side, coaches and players. So I would think that that's probably the thing to look for here. I think of some other things going on in the world of sports we can chat about too. We don't have to stick with the Super Bowl. We can, as we say, as you can see by the title of our show on Sunday, the stream of consciousness, we can go wherever you want. I haven't seen a lot of his news elsewhere just because of my accessibility, but we'll talk more about that maybe at some point later on today. I'll come back on live if I can do a little bit of research on some other stuff. But obviously, the story of the day is the Super Bowl, right? And I'd love your guys' opinion. Sean, if you're still here with me, I mean, as far as TV coverage, I'm a sports fan. I'm sure you're a sports fan, and I know that to the casual fan, things like the halftime show are important. I could care less. Twitter and social media will be going nuts. 5 minutes after the halftime show is over, saying how bad it was. Who cares? I'm there to watch football. I want to see these. I want to see the Mahomes against that Eagles defense. I want to see Hurts against that Kansas City defense that I say is better than people think it is and better than the numbers that they put up. And again, Spagnuolo, I do believe. And you know what? Bear with me 1 second. You're watching me order a drink live. Hello, Rum Runner. Rum Runner.
Is it 3.4?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Want to say good morning to my my crowd? Say good morning.
Hello.
You'll be bringing me drinks for the morning while we're in the air today. This is the first. I got one of the wait staff on my podcast. So, Chiefs or Eagles? Chiefs or Eagles? Super Bowl. Eagles. Loser. Sorry. So there we go. We got a live drink order. We'll probably get kicked off social media right away. You're back, Scott. Good to have you back with us. I don't know where my regulars are, Rick and Kenny. I know I'm off on a little bit of a different time schedule here. I'm trying to get a little higher here at noontime. Trying to adjust my phone stand here, and I knocked myself right offline. What else we got? You saw the waiter predicted the Eagles to win today, so dude, I don't know if I'll have him bring me any more drinks today. I don't have much of a rooting interest in this game, obviously, as a Patriots fan. Certainly want to watch the game. I'll certainly have a few shillings on the game, as I said, but I think it'll be a fun game to watch. I probably won't get to it. I'll be following it on my phone during dinner, and then we'll get to the game probably around the end of the first quarter. So we'll see how that goes. I can tell you on years that I've had Patriots playing in the Super Bowl, I've been on the ship. It gets a little scary because if they get my spot that I want on the Lido, I have to get there about 5:30. So it's a long day. But today's a little bit different. We don't have anything other than money on the line in the game. So what else? What else you guys got for me today? We talked a little bit about the TV coverage. We can jump into that a little bit. I mean, this is the first year we had quite an upheaval in some of the coverage. Every team, I think, except for Romo and Nance, changed. Fox went to Burkhardt and Olsen. Monday Night Football went to Aikman and Joe Buck. Who, by the way, Joe Buck gets a bad rap. Joe Buck is not a bad announcer. I don't know what it is. Again, it's the hate and it's the hate on social media. The guys are good at their jobs. Same reason people hate Tom Brady, they hate Joe Buck. Well, now Tony Romo gets a bad rap for a reason, but Joe Buck, I think, has gotten a bad rap for him. Sunday Night Football obviously changed with Tirico and Chris Collinsworth doing the game. Tirico stepping in for Al Michaels, and then we had Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit doing the Amazon games. So I got my head cut off here. So So again, a lot of changes in the coverage to the NFL. A lot of changes coming too, guys. If you haven't noticed, if Google and YouTube TV now have the NFL package, so you're about to see a lot of changes coming next year in the way you can purchase these games. There's going to be a cheaper options with less accessibility. I think one thing they're not going to do is let you buy like one team exclusively, but I think you may see some a la carte options where you can buy just one game and be able to watch that. So big changes to the NFL ticket next year, which I think is certainly going to be interesting as we head into the 2023 season. So where's my boy Rick and guys? So Sean, tell me a little bit about your show. I'd love to hear a little bit about your show and where they can find it. I like to help other podcasters out and promote their shows. So if you want to put a little something up and let us know where they can find you and when, I'd be happy to do that. And tell me where you're from, Sean, and who are you rooting for? What's your pick today? Sean, and if Joseph, you're still here, do it. Anybody else who might be following us here this morning, please do that. And I know a lot of my regulars are doing their own thing, and lots of other things going on around today too. So we'll see how long we go here. We've been going 36 minutes. We're going to go to the hour. I do a 2-hour show normally on Sundays, but I don't think we'll do 2 hours today unless some people pop in here maybe at the top of the hour. We will try, by the way, to do our, let's see, today's Sunday. We'll try to do our college sports huddle on Wednesday at some point, probably during the day, not live at 7 o'clock like it normally is. I'll do it during the day, and we'll catch up a little bit in the college basketball world and the college football world, which we can certainly talk about here today as well. Next Friday, I'll try to do something with my Friday morning show, which is Are You Serious, which I normally do with the Mad New Yorker, but he will not be able to connect with me. I don't believe so. But give me your picks here today. And again, if you want to go anywhere else, we can do that. You know, college basketball, I'm going to jump on it again, since we're on the stream of consciousness, we can go back to the Super Bowl here at any point. College basketball has been quite the roller coaster this season. Purdue did manage to stay on top. I haven't seen the scores from the last couple of days, so I'm not sure where we're at. But Purdue, to me, is an easy front runner here. Houston, who, even while they're number 2, looks vulnerable to me, and I think it's possible, while they're going to get a number 1 seed, I'm virtually certain they would be the number 1 seed. They would be the number 1 seed that I would say has the best chance of going out early. Here's John's information. I hope it is John. John is called, thanks you, buddy. Got a sign now for the Eagles fan. Jeez. You're going to owe me money. No tip for you. I got to give. I can't look bad on during the show here. Thank you. So now we're having a little rum runner. You get to see it live on TV. So anyway, Scott, what do you got here? Joe's called Talk Back. Sean J on the Level Port network. Anyway, you'll see that in the comments. I'll share it. And I'm guessing, is that on YouTube? I'm guessing, Sean? I do broadcast the TGI Sports Talk shows on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're on Northeast Streaming Sports. We're on Let's Talk Sports. We also simulcast over there. So appreciate you joining us this morning, Sean. And I do hope, and I'll get in and like and follow your show and subscribe on YouTube. And I hope you'll do the same on Facebook and YouTube for TGI Sports Talk. And I'll certainly invite. I like to, once I get people like you and I try to promote their shows, I'll certainly invite a lot of the people to do that. Oh, Let's Talk Sports Network. You're on Let's Talk Sports. Dan Harris, give me a thumbs up. Dan Harris, you're talking about, right? I didn't know that. All right. What's your last name, Sean? We haven't done anything together. I'm just starting. Dan and I have done a show just to kind of give you a little background. Since I started doing this 3 years ago, Dan started doing his thing in the UK, and we hooked up for an interview. And then he and I started doing Let's Talk Sport, New York Sports on Friday, which I've been doing solo for a little bit. I didn't do it yesterday. I'll try to do something with that next week too. But there you Jared. Maybe it's a different network. Maybe we're not talking the same thing. I don't know. Oh, he said yes. There we go. And I guess it's not Sean, it's Jared. Who's Jared? Anyway, that's good. We'll certainly promote your show. Get in there. I'll like and follow your stuff for sure. Jared or Sean. And maybe we'll do something together at some point, as I've worked with a lot of guys on the Let's Talk Sports Network now. Alan, Nick, Tanner, certainly Dan. Dan and I have done our thing weekly, as I said, for nearly 3 years. Not recently, as Dan's been a little, dealing with his health issues. Been carrying the we're going to figure this out. Sean Garrett. There we go. Now we got it. Excellent, Sean. All right. Sometimes it gets hard to communicate here through the comments, but that's fine. We'll do a little better. I'll find something and I'll put it on the TGI Sports Talk page as well. And I'm glad to chat with you, and we'll have you on sometime to have a quick conversation. And so, Sean, tell me the teams you follow and your picks for today while we got you on. And are you on today during any of Dan's coverage? I'm going to go on. We're trying to go on at 11:45, but can't. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll just sit right here. What time is it now? 10:45. It's only an hour from now. My wife is previously occupied. What else? So I was talking to college basketball, like Sean does some typing. Sean Jarrett. I should probably said Jarrett. Sorry. Mispronouncing names seems to be my forte. College basketball, I talked a little bit about. I think Houston's one of the number ones you might see go out early. I think Tennessee and Rick Barnes. I think this might be Rick Barnes' best team. It's certainly his best defensive team. They're certainly able to win ugly games, and Sean's going to be on at 1:00 today with the guys. I don't know. I think poor Nick might be on the entire 15 hours. But we'll find out when I pop on with them. Good guys, by the way, Nick and Tanner. Alan Corrales, who actually started out as one of my loyal followers, and he started doing his own podcast, and he gets better and better, regardless of his Dallas Cowboy fandom and Texas Ranger fandom, which kind of is a tough struggle for him. I tried to straighten him out, but I can't seem to do it. Had a lot of fun too, by the way, on Let's Talk Sports with their debate show with Ashton on Monday. And Matt New Yorker and I tipped off the debate show there. I had a lot of fun debating some topics, going back and forth. So I'm sure, Sean, you'll end up on as a contestant on that show, for lack of a better term, at some point. But it was a lot of fun. What else? So we talked a lot. I know I keep bouncing around here, but it is the stream of consciousness show. So the NCAA is going to be very, 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 very close this year. I think there's 14. There could be 10 to 14 teams that could probably go all the way and win this thing. And I don't think there's any. Purdue, if there's anything closer to clear-cut favorite, it's Purdue. But some of these teams that played well early in the year and fell back, like Kansas, like Utah, you're not going to be surprised if these teams come back in the tournament and make a big run. It's entirely possible that could happen. You could see if TCU. I like TCU as a dark horse for a lot of the year, and it's been. They haven't had a good couple of weeks. They've had some injuries. Jamie Dixon is one of the most underrated coaches in the country, though. So do not sleep on TCU For sure. What do you got here, Sean? You got Kansas City 35. I'll take that score for sure. I'm all over that score. What I'd like to see, and it's hard. I don't like betting both the over and the game, unless I'm betting a big dog, I guess. But I'm going to do it in this case because this is basically a wagering coup, right? So we play out of a cigar box. The cigar box is the bookie. So we've got 2 bets I've got left basically for the year. Then we're done. Then we pay out or pay. And I think I'm going to bet both sides of this. Whatever our max is today is what I'll go. But I like that pick. I do think that's a very good pick for the score. And I think you're right on, Sean, because as I said before, I don't think Kansas City can win, a 13-10, 14-13. I don't think they can win that type of game. I think this game is going to have to they're going to have to score some points to win this game. So if Kansas City, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is if Kansas City scores 10 or 13 or 14, they're going to get beat by 10, 15, 20 points. That's what I think. We'll see how that goes. What do you got here? Early thought 38-28 Eagles. See, it's funny, Sean, you bring that up because I was all over this every day this week. Since every day this week, pretty much every day for the last 2 weeks. Since the championship game, I've been I was on the Eagles one day, I was on Kansas City another day, and I just could not get a good handle. And I think the reason for that, normally once I've seen the championship games, I know where I'm going pretty much right away. Doesn't take me a lot of research, doesn't take me a lot of anything to kind of figure out what I want to do and where I want to go. But with this game, the fact that I didn't get see the Eagles play in a real championship game, I'm sorry, Purdy goes out on the second offensive play of the game for the 49ers. I don't get a real feel for how good the Eagles are. Now, they could very well go in there and blow Kansas City out of the building. They may be that good. I don't think they are. No, I shouldn't say that. They're a really good team. I know they're a really good team. As I said, their roster talent, to me, is better than maybe anybody's in the NFL and better than Kansas City's top to bottom. But experience means something in these games. You're not playing against, again, Brock Purdy on the other side today. You're not playing against Lamar Jackson. You're playing against a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs. And people like to point out to the stinker that he threw up against the Buccaneers, but he was playing with no offensive line that day. So I can't get at him for that. The coaching experience matters. First-time coaches don't always do well in the Super Bowl. Sometimes they do. But let's look back. First-time Super Bowl, let's see, I'm trying to remember one last year. All right, Zach Taylor, first-time Super Bowl coach. Sean McVay had been there once before. Sean McVay's first time, he loses. Kyle Shanahan's first time, he loses to an experienced coach. How far back can I go? Patriots and Eagles, that's a little bit of a different one, as Peterson hadn't been there, and he gets a victory over Bill Belichick, who'd been there more than anybody. So there's going to be aberrations, right? But as a rule, first-time coaches struggle in their first Super Bowl. Bill Belichick won his first, but again, he's certainly an overall aberration. I mean, I think of great coaches, a lot of them lost their first. You can go back to Tom Landry. Hank Stram did win one, but he lost his first one. You go back, so you can go back as far as the history of the Super Bowl beginning. First-time coaches struggle. Well, I guess the first one they both didn't have experience, but Don Shula, as great a coach as Don Shula was, lost his first Super Bowl. And again, he went up a coach who hadn't been in the Super Bowl and WBA Bank, but certainly had been in championship games, NFL championship games. So the equivalent of the Super Bowl up until that time. So again, first-time coaches matter. I mean, again, outside of the Mike Ditka's, you know, think about it. There are a lot of first-time coaches who struggle to get that off that schneid. And then they win once they've got some experience. Andy Reid. Andy Reid's another great example, right? He lost to the Patriots. And then the next time he got there, he wins. Um, so again, I think that's an important part of this game today. Oh boy. So what else we got? We're running out of, my audience is normally my co-hosts in this show, and and then when I don't have people, I certainly got stuff prepared to talk about. But being on vacation, I rough it, or wing it a little bit more, and I've got less to winging with it this morning than normal. And my normal guys here that I would certainly have things that kind of push my buttons aren't here. So we'll probably try to go live again later this afternoon. Try the same thing a little bit, maybe. We'll see how that goes. If not, we might do a post-game show tomorrow. It's going to be interesting on the ship. Normally, again, if I had more of a rooting interest, I'd be on the deck looking for a place to watch the game and stay there all day. But today we'll go down to the theater and watch the game after dinner. Still a good experience. Beautiful screen they have in there. There's nothing like having your team in the Super Bowl. 2007 was my first Super Bowl on a cruise. And we all remember 2017, sorry. And we all remember 20-3. And that was probably the most exciting cruise I've ever been on, the most exciting Super Bowl I've ever had a feel for. What do you got here, Sean? Oh, Major League Baseball storylines. Again, I'm not sure where you are, Sean, so if you can tell me, I can certainly focus a little bit on your area, your team. So tell me some teams that you're looking at. I mean, I'm looking at, obviously, the AL East. As a Yankee fan, the Yankees, yes, they got back Judge, which was job number one, but they have not improved left field. They have not improved shortstop. I still don't think we got enough guys that kind of put the ball into play. We're going to lose and not be able to play small ball and beat premier pitchers. That's going to be a storyline to watch again. The Blue Jays, again, might be the most talented team in the East. Can they get over the hump, which they have not been able to do? How bad will the Red Sox be? Central, I mean, who's the favorite there? I like the Twins to bounce back. I think that's a great storyline. I think the Twins have had a really good offseason. Pitching's still a little bit iffy, but I think they've had a really good offseason in general. The West, I know Alan isn't with us today, but the Rangers, I think the Rangers are going to be one of the bigger disappointments in baseball. They should never have wrapped up DeGrom for the money that they did because the rest of their team is not that good. Their pitching is mediocre at best. The lineup had one of the worst on-base percentages in baseball last year. And they said they haven't done enough to improve it. They've got a couple of good players. But this team has invested money both last year and this year like they're ready to win now. And they're not ready to win now. So I think the West will still be the Astros, and can Dusty Baker get his second in a row, and will he continue? I think Dusty, if he wins, and he might very well win, will probably ride off into the sunset. What do you got here? I'll go into the boy, I'll tell you. You live in Tennessee? Tennessee, you live in the Braves. Listen, well, let me start with Chicago since you brought it up. I don't know what the Cubs are doing. I mean, if you're a Cubs fan or you follow the Cubs, maybe you can explain it to me, Sean. But other than Dansby Swanson, who I like a lot, and I'm sure if the Braves are your number one team, you got to be unhappy because they have not got an adequate replacement unless Grissom can handle the job full time. But I don't know what the Cubs are doing. The Cubs signed Hosner to play first base, Bellinger to play center field. These guys, I don't think these guys are going to find some elixir all of a sudden and become the players that they were 5 years ago. I think their pitching is suspect. When Kyle Hendricks, nice pitcher, but he's your number one starter, Cubs have got some problems. and I'm not sure what exactly they're doing. I think they've spent a lot of money, and they've gotten one good player out of it. Ian Happ's a good player. I like Ian Happ, but I'm not sure how long Ian Happ's going to be on this team. I would like to see him in left field this year. I was really pulling for him to get traded to the Yankees at the deadline last year. Plus, he can play around other places. The Braves, I think the Braves are still a favorite East, despite the Mets. I think probably getting lucky not getting Carlos Correa and trapping themselves into that crazy contract. I think the Mets will be as good as their pitching can be. Their offense and their defense, I think, is pretty good. I think they're better off defensively not signing Correa because I think they're better off with the kid. Now his name's escaping me. The third baseman who really had a big second half last year, plays well defensively. You're better with him than Correa would have been at third base. The key's going to come down to their pitching. If Scherzer, and the Mets did a smart thing not signing DeGrom, by the way, because they were able to really bring in Scherzer, the kid from Japan. They were able to bring in Navarro. They were able to bring in, re-sign Nemo. All of it for the same money they would have spent on DeGrom this year. So I think that's a really good move for the Mets. But the Mets are going to go, if Scherzer and Verlander are going to have to stay healthy. Right? And they both had some issues. Obviously, Verlander's had major surgeries over the year. Nobody's ever come back from surgeries the way this guy has. Scherzer's had his injury problems late in the year, the last few years. Carrasco, who I think is a really good pitcher, has had his concerns. And then we'll see how the depth is. We'll see how the kid is from Japan. I love the bullpen. I think they use another arm in a bullpen. But I think the Braves and the Mets are going to battle it out just like they did last year. I'm a big Buck Showalter fan. This guy's doing me no favors. He likes coming over here and slamming stuff. I don't know why. But I'm a big Buck Showalter fan. I'd like to see, not a Met fan, don't get me wrong. I'm a Showalter fan. Braves probably ought to be the favorite in this division. Phillies, I think will have a tough time repeating what they did last year. The defense is still not that good, although it gets better with Turner, Trey Turner now, whether he plays shortstop or second base, wherever he plays, their defense will be better in the infield. Harper, from what I understand, still may not be able to play the outfield full time, at least in the beginning of the year. That hurts their defense. Again, can they outscore their opponents all year long again? I love Rob Thompson, another guy. I got a couple of managers I just love in this division, but I think the Braves will be the favorites. I swear to God, it's just trying to piss me off. Where are we on? Central. We just talked about the Cubs. Reds will be bad again, probably. Maybe historically bad. Cardinals will be the Cardinals. I look for the Brewers to bounce back in the Central. And out west, you're going to listen. Mark Mancini, the loudmouth, what do they call him? I forgot what they started calling him. Anyway, he hates everything LA. He's done a lot of guest spots on my shows. LA's not going to fold. LA's going to be in the playoffs next year. They're just too good, too much talent. They got a good manager. The Padres, have a collection of superstars, and we're going to see that doesn't always work. Giants, I think, found out are a one-year wonder, and we'll see how that goes further. Justin Turner. Oh, yeah, Justin Turner. Again, another guy whose best years are behind him. I mean, he's a great guy to have in the clubhouse and whatnot, but again, I don't see how he helps the team that much. I really don't. There's CA with us this morning. We popped in a little late from the cruise ship. We're live from the Caribbean for anybody who might have just joined us from the Carnival Magic. I still don't have a thumbs up or down on how good or bad the feed is. So if somebody will do that, put in the comments whether it's good or bad. I'd love to hear it. Good to have you with us, OCA. We talked Super Bowl. We've been talking a little bit of Major League Baseball now with Sean from also with Let's Talk Sports Network. What will happen? Listen, I think the Red Sox finished last, Sean. They've lost their best player. They traded their big right-hand bat. So what have they got left? Well, they did sign Devers, right? But Devers is not going to be. If they couldn't sign Devers and Bogarts, I think Trevor Story's probably best years are behind him. We don't even know how bad he's hurt or whether he's going to miss the beginning of the year. I always worry when teams aren't forthcoming about injuries, right? So anyway, I really think the Red Sox finish last in that division. I think that division ends up. I'm going to pick the Yankees second again. I'm going to go Blue Jays, Yankees, Orioles, Rays, because I think the Rays will be worse this year as well, and the Red Sox. That's my East. So CA says the feed is good. All right. Yeah, it's funny when I do this. Every year when I do this, and somebody will say it's really, really good. Rick Sherlock, one of my original followers, fellow Kurthite. Then I'll go back and watch it later, and it's like buffering all over the place. So maybe it's my feed, and everything else is good. So we do plan on being on live here with the Let's Talk Sports guys at 11:45 for a little bit. And we'll try to do something with our Wednesday show, CA, the college sports huddle. So if you want to pop in, I don't know. It'll probably be during the day, though, not live at 7 o'clock, just so you know. But we'll do some more stuff during the week. Friday, I'll try to do more of the Let's Talk Sports stuff, too. I didn't do any Let's Talk New York Sports. I didn't do any Major League Baseball update. I'll try to do some of that stuff. I might actually... I don't know. I might spread it out a little bit. Maybe I'll do one of them Thursday for the hell of it. And we know CA's an Astros fan. Listen, I love the Astros. You guys know, I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm a baseball fan. I don't root for other teams because I tell Alan all the time, you can only have one team, right? If you're a fanatic. Fan is short for fanatic. That doesn't mean rooting for a club. I'm a Yankee fanatic, but when the Yankees are out, I'll find a rooting interest. Dusty Baker was my rooting interest last year. The Astros moving past a ridiculous non-story of a controversy 2 years ago with the sign stealing. Look at similar to some of the things that have gone on with the Patriots over the years. The Astros were doing nothing that other people weren't doing. They just did it better, and they got caught. They weren't good at not getting caught. That was what they weren't good at. So pretty much a non-story. I was happy for the Astros, more than happy for Dusty Baker, who spent 60 years, almost 60 years in baseball. Well, not 6 years in baseball because he was a kid at that point, but 40 years in baseball. I was happy, and many years as a manager with some really good teams, turning around really bad teams in a lot of cases. But not able to get over that World Series hump, and I was happy to see him be able to get a victory. So that was fun as well. What else we got here? So again, the Astros are certainly somebody that I was rooting for. I can't really see that, CA, because my screen is very small. I'm on my phone, so I'm not sure what those babies are. If Benito calls, let me know. Yeah, we'll certainly do something. It's funny. Sean, this isn't anything against anybody. I like doing my shows. My shows long. I'll have somebody come on as a guest and do segments, which we can certainly do. I try to set up my shows so that I do them and my audience is my co-host. So that's where it's been successful, and I'll probably keep that model. But I would love to do some stuff with you one-off and whatnot. We'll do something. I'd love to chat with you more, and we'll see what we can do. And I plan on working with all the guys, as I have on Northeast Streaming Sports, guest hosting on those shows. While I've been affiliated with that network, I plan to do more of it. Let's Talk Sports as well. Not pushing Northeast Streaming Sports out of the picture at all, unless I'm asked to. Unless I'm asked to be pushed out. I certainly want to work more with the guys there, and I've worked with a lot of them so far and had a great time doing it, and I'd love to work with you as well. So what else you guys got today? Again, Major League Baseball, continue on with that. Did I finish up, I guess, the last... So other storylines other than teams, players. Fernando Tatis, when he comes back from his suspension. Where is he going to play? How does he fit in? Is he going to cause a problem when he's not going to be the high? You know, they signed him and locked him up early, like a lot of teams are now. And the Braves missed the boat with Swanson doing this probably. But the problem with doing that is now your contract becomes obsolete after 2 or 3 years, and you want to be compensated. And when you got 2 or 3 or 4 guys making more money than you on your team, and you're Fernando Tatis, who has not shown a great proclivity to be a team player in that regard, I'm not sure how that's going to be worked. Plus, you're going to have a position switch for him. I'm just not sure the Padres are going to be that good. So what are your thoughts, Sean, about Major League Baseball or CA if you're still with us, and anybody else with us? You can certainly give us your and CA, you weren't with us when we were talking about the Super Bowl for the first 45 minutes or so. You could certainly jump in and give us some of your thoughts there. Excuse me while I drink my rum runner. Other baseball stories? Listen, Aaron Judge. And this is bound to happen, right? Aaron Judge, New York fans, baseball fans, whatever. Yankees did the smart thing in re-signing him. They should have signed him last spring and saved themselves $100 million. But Aaron Judge is not hitting 62 home runs next year, and people have to understand that. When Aaron Judge hits 45 or 50 home runs and drives in 100 runs and scores 100 runs and walks 100 times and plays great defense, please don't be telling me he didn't live up to his contract. Because he is maybe the best. He's the most important player to a franchise in baseball in my mind. And not just on the field, but off the field. You know? So he's worth the money that he makes. And it isn't all just driven and you know, his worth is not all driven just on the baseball field. It's off the field as well. So that's going to be something to follow as well. You know, you brought up the Red Sox before, Sean, and you know, how bad they are and what they do to try to improve this team. Probably important as well. What's going on in hockey? Not even what's that thing? Hockey, but not even a Super Bowl party. Gotcha. I haven't even looked at the hockey today. So, and again, being away and doing a remote, I didn't have Jim Beringer hooked up to come on. But when I get back, not next Sunday because I'll be home on Monday. So 2 Sundays from now, we'll get Jim back in to do a complete. We'll do a complete update. We'll have missed 3 weeks of hockey, so there'll be lots of changes and lots of things to get updated on. We certainly want to stay on top of the Rangers. I know you don't, CA, but we want to stay on top of the Rangers. The Bruins, certainly a great story. Are they still on a historic pace? Quite frankly, I haven't seen hardly any hockey in the last week, so I don't know. But we'll catch up on all of that with Jim Beringer. And if you got some topics, we can certainly go there as well. What do you got here, buddy? Tatis, yeah, Tatis is an interesting story. As I said, you know, he's going to miss X amount of games to start the year. And again, I don't know how he meshes with the rest of these guys. Tatis has not been, as I said, Sean, and maybe you see it differently, but I have not seen him as a guy who's willing to conform and be part of, you know, the collective. He's going to come in here and see Manny making more money and Bogart's making more money. Soto's going to get his money. And he's going to be the 4th highest paid player on his team, and he probably should be, results-wise. You know, and maturity-wise. I mean, the guy has not shown me the type of maturity that says he's going to be a leader of a team or help the team get to the World Series, just because that maturity level is not there. He's still a kid, and he makes a lot of bad decisions. And we'll see what he does. Once he comes back, how he adapts to a new position, how he deals with potentially being the 4th highest paid player on his team. Very interesting. I was a little surprised too with the trade deadline. We'll get into all that with Jim when we recap too. The Islanders, you know, definitely made some moves to reinforce the roster and go for it in the East. I'd like your thoughts on the All-Star game too. I guess CA. I mean, to be honest with you, All-Star games in all sports just to me are a complete waste of time. At least the NHL is trying to do something different, playing basically 3 games in a day, right? 2-period games, if I'm not mistaken, and playing a little mini tournament. The the Pro Bowl weekend was just a joke. Just stop. Just stop doing it overall. I don't need to see a flag football game. Hey, I'm back. Name your team and move on, right? It's ridiculous. At least the NHL's gotten away from me. Oh, we're back. We're starting to get a little buffering as we move through the Caribbean. Obviously, Tatis will put Paredes in and 6-year poison. Yeah. Listen, I personally, they got a good manager out there in San Diego. That's probably the best thing they got going for them with the Padres. I was saying that they've got a great manager and probably one of the best guys they could have to try to manage these different personalities. But I just think it's going to be an issue for much of the season going forward. So we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to get your comment up here, CA, but it won't let me change my comment. Let me get that out. All right, well, we're starting to have some internet issues, so there we go. Didn't pay attention to any of the All-Star events. See, there you go. Probably the best. All-Star events are just a joke. When the NBA All-Star games kind of come up soon, right? And it's going to be 195 to 190. It's just, why even watch? The games aren't representative of what sport's about anymore. They used to be. Baseball has very good All-Star events. The NFL Pro Bowl used to be a real game where they tackled and guys tried to win and they tried to play some defense. Even the NBA All-Star game used to be interesting. I don't know. The NHL tried lots of different formats, right? U.S. against the world. This little tournament seems to be an effort to go in the right direction, but why play these things? What else? I think we've got everything. We covered everything. So anyway, let's wrap it up with a little bit of, I know CA is not going to do any Super Bowl stuff today. Again, I'll give you my pick one more time. In fact, I like Sean's pick. I will go with the same exact score, 35-34, Kansas City Chiefs. I'm betting the Chiefs plus 1.5. We think. I'll probably look at my email now and see what's going on. And the over 51. Think easy. Morning, Dave Gayette. Good to have you with us. Sorry, we'll be leaving here in just a minute or so. Off my, there you go. Morning, Dave Gayette. Haven't had you with me in a while. We got started. Just for those of you who might have just joined, we're live from the Carnival Magic in the middle of the Caribbean, not our normal studio. But we wanted to do a little bit of chit chat. Missed most of our regulars, but that's okay. We're going to be on Let's Talk Sports here at 11:45 on their Super Bowl show. So we'll spend 15 minutes, half hour, whatever with them, talking a little more of what I've already talked about here today. And then we'll get into Wednesday at some point during the day we'll do our college sports huddle. Friday we'll try to do some of our full-blown stuff with Are You Serious and college sports huddle. But we hope you show up. We hope you bring your comments. We hope you help me co-host the show as you do every week. That's one of the things that's fun for me. And one of the reasons I do these remotes from the show. So If you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to see if I can play some music on the way out here. I don't know if I can. Let me give it a try. I want to know this for the next time. So bear with me. See if I can start my music up. I don't know if it'll play. Will it play? Be interesting if it does. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk Sunday Stream of Consciousness. We had a lot of fun. We'll be back. Maybe we'll pop in later today. Who knows? We'll see if the weather's bad and I got to go hike somewhere. We'll see what it's doing. The wives are off doing some of the things that I don't want to do. So we'll see what we got. So we'll catch you later. Good